Today we're going to talk about how to clean up your sweep picking. Sweeping is a very fun technique, but it can be a little bit hard to get perfect, so we're going to talk about 5 different areas that are going to help you sound much cleaner. First off, we're going to talk about quite an obvious one, that's having good hand synchronization. This is essential for sounding good and professional because you don't sound messy and your playing sounds very well put together and tied together nicely because you're picking out and sounding the notes out properly. And hand synchronization is when this hand and this hand, my picking and fretting hand, are playing at the same time. So if we have bad hand synchronization, maybe our picking hand is faster or slower than our fretting hand, and we're playing or picking the notes at different times than when we're fretting the notes. So having good hand synchronization will give us less unwanted noise from maybe other strings that we don't want to be vibrating, and all the notes will be standing out from the rest of them, so it will sound very, very clear. A few ways we can practice getting better hand synchronization is we can, 1, play and practice at a slower tempo, so we really focus on our technique and sounding out the notes properly. So this might mean you practice sweep picking at a slower tempo for a little while, but it will progressively get much quicker and much easier to do this technique over the long term. We can practice exercises that include short bursts. So for instance, I like to do an alternate picking exercise that has a short burst, and that's quite good for my hand synchronization. And the third way to practice hand synchronization is to just find some exercises that are good for hand synchronization, like the alternate picking exercise but more dedicated to it. This isn't necessary because you do just gain good hand synchronization from playing the guitar, you just get it over time. But this can be a nice way to speed up the process a little bit if that's something that's falling behind your playing. Next is a pretty important thing, and that's using one fluid motion in our picking hand. So what we don't want to see is that we're picking each string individually as we would alternate picking maybe, but it's more like it is just like a sweep. It's one motion, a bit like a strum, but more controlled. So we don't want to go like this and pick each string individually like that. We want to go up and down in one smooth fluid motion. Because when we pick each string individually, we get a little bit of a bounce on our pick, so that's not really ideal for our speed when sweep picking because we are only picking each string once. So we may as well just go with one motion all the way through every string instead of going like that, because it's much slower and less controlled. Staying loose and very relaxed helps with this motion a lot. I find that if I'm gripping the pick or I'm pressing the pick too much or too hard, that it starts to become a little bit more difficult to do this motion. So just stay very loose and relaxed and it will be much easier to do this one fluid motion. Next is using the tip of our fingers. This is just a good thing to do in practice in every technique, but specifically for this technique is very, very useful because you need to be very accurate with this technique. It's very difficult, so you need to be very accurate because it's a very fast technique. So if we're using kind of the pads of our fingers like that, we're pressing our fingers flat, it starts to become very hard to fret properly. So we need to make sure our fingers are curled over the fretboard like that and not flat like that. So we need to keep our fingers curled over and use the tips of our fingers to fret, and it becomes much easier to sound out the notes properly and make everything sound very clear. Using the tip of our fingers also helps us not interfere with other strings or other frets that we don't really want to sound out, so definitely use the tips of our fingers to fret properly. Next is muting. So this is a very important thing, because if we don't mute what we're not playing, it sounds a little bit like this, which is not good. It's not great. So to mute when we're going up through the strings, so from the low to the high strings, we can use our palm and play or mute everything behind the string we're playing. So muted, muted, muted. That's muted. That's not. So So we can use our palm to mute the strings that are higher up from the string we're actually playing, if that makes sense. So I'm playing this, I'm playing this, and my palm's muting the G string, or D string. So I'm playing on G, and it's muting the D. But we do need to be careful when we're doing that, because we don't want to mute everything. We don't want a staccato-y, unless that's what you're going for. But we don't, usually when we're sweep picking in solos, we don't want a staccato sound, which is achieved from muting everything. You kind of want to sound it out like that. So just be careful. This is very difficult and very hard to get used to. But also we can use our thumb to do the same thing. I don't use this because I have not learned it like that. But some people like to use their thumb to do basically exactly the same thing, but just they press their thumb more flat, so it looks like that. Which you should do anyway to get our palm in the correct position to mute what we want to mute. But just use our thumb. I don't really know how to do that, so I'm not going to teach it, because I'll teach it wrong probably. But there is the thumb to use if you want to mute with the thumb, if you find that easier as well. And when we're going down through the strings, so on the way down of our sweep, we can use our fretting hand to mute the strings we don't want to hear. So what we can do, we're still fretting with the tip of our finger, but we can gently use the pads of our fingers to fret the string below. So you'll find that as you fret this note, you might be touching the E string, which is muted, with the pad of our finger that's fretting on the B string. So we can mute like that, and that's how I do it. And that tends to work quite well for me, but obviously there's other ways to do that. But muting is very, very important because it means that we're only hearing what we want to hear. We're not getting excess string noise from other stuff. So it sounds very, very clean and well put together. And the last thing to help you sound cleaner, and this will help your muting as well, and that is take your hand along with your pick. So instead of planting your hand or your palm there and go at an angle, like that, and rotate your wrist, you really want to follow the palm, or follow your pick with your palm, sorry, like that. Like that, and that helps you mute a lot as well if you're using your thumb and palm, that's the word. So that helps you mute a lot, and it also helps you control your hand as well. So if I do this, rotate. One is that I'm not muting properly, and also I'm having to kind of rotate my pick along with it, whereas if I just follow the pick, I can keep my pick at a constant and consistent angle and keep my playing very consistent, which is kind of what we want to sound clean. And that is a must, because it helps you mute, it helps you pick properly, and it kind of helps your hand sync as well, because there's less to focus on, because you're just moving your wrist. You're not having to think about rotating your pick at the right angle because you're rotating your wrist, and compensate it with your pick. You're not having to think about pressing your palm this way to mute the strings that you want. You're just following your pick with your palm to sound and do everything correctly. But that was a rather quick lesson on how to sound cleaner when sweep picking. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, then give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss when I upload, and I will see you in the next video.